Newark Councilman and mayoral candidate, I'm going to say mayoral candidate one more time, Baraka.
Yay!
Having served as Southport Councilman since 2010, Baraka is running for mayor in the 2014 election. Baraka was educated in the Newark Public Schools and is credited with transforming Central High School, where he has served as principal since 2007. As principal, he increased the graduation rate by 30%, formed partnerships with universities, and rid the school of gang culture. You better clap for that one. Baraka is leading the fight to stop school closings in Newark and return control of our schools to the people of Newark. Baraka's love for teaching and education is matched only by his passion to transform Newark. An accomplished legislator, poet, and former deputy mayor, Baraka has worked to develop solutions to the city's most difficult problems, including joblessness, violence, public health, and neighborhood development. He possesses an uncompromising commitment to the people of Newark and has built a powerful movement of citizens, parents, students, labor unions, businesses, religious institutions, and universities to move the city forward by working collectively. I give you Councilman, soon-to-be Mayor, Baraka.
First, I want to, thank these incredibly brilliant women that are up here. Engage this, and it's just really an example of how I believe the city should be governed, right? So there's some incredibly intelligent, smart, engaged folks in this city and around the city that take these issues seriously. And more than just a soundbite or a press conference, who really want to change the direction of things. So it's easy to say we're going to create policies, and these policies are going to reduce crime for 1 year, 2 years, and then we back at it again year 3, and then brag about it, right? I reduced crime for 1.5 years, or say we're going to do these things in terms of education the same way. What we really have to begin to do is begin to put systems in place that change the direction of the way things are going. Completely change the direction, right? So we have to completely turn everything around on its head, right? So, and that takes serious dialogue, serious analysis, serious research, and then serious work. So the work is hard work, right? It's not easy work, and everyone is not committed to the work. People are committed to the position, they're just not committed to the work, right? They're committed to the the limelight of the position, but they're not committed to the work that it's going to take, because these situations didn't happen overnight, and they're not going to be fixed overnight.
That's right.
So you can't be threatened into a position where people tell you, we want to fix this today, and since you can't fix it today, we're not going to listen to you. Well, they can't fix it today. Right? So the idea is that we begin to engage what's happening to us and do some very thoughtful things at its root. We engage the problem at its root, and we begin to try to turn it around. And some of the things that were said today, in terms of poverty, right? In terms of relevance, in terms of our kids seeing themselves at, in a powerful position and seeing themselves successful and looking in the mirror and loving what they see. These are things that you think mayors can't have any control over, but I disagree.
That's right.
The idea that we can't move schools forward without closing them down, I also disagree with that.
That's right. That's right.
I'm also opposed to cynicism and hopelessness and negativity and the constant, us telling each other how difficult things are. We're never going to change. Things won't change in an environment of hopelessness.
That's right.
In an environment of cynicism.
That's right.
In an environment of negativity. Things can only change in the opposite environment with a vision that says this is where we want to be. right? And these are the steps that we're going to take to get where we actually want to be, right? And one of the things that I think that I do pretty well is bring folks together.
That's right.
Put the right people in the right places so that we can take a vision that we create and move that vision forward. And one thing that I'm sure of, if I'm not sure of anything else, is that no one can do this thing by themselves.
That's right. That's right.
So at the fundamental piece of this agenda or policy or paper that we've created is the inclusion of all institutions in this city. And the inclusion of all stakeholders in this community. Everybody that has a stake in it has to be involved in some capacity or some form. 3 people can't make a decision, 2 people, 1 person can't make these kind of radical decisions for all of us. We have to be engaged in some level. And I'm also sure that these universities, the nonprofit organizations, all the institutions in the city, the public and private sector, they all have to be organized for the well-being of young people.
That's right. That's right. That's
like
right.
in any community that's successful, the resources of that community, as Dr. Wells pointed out, are organized for the betterment of the individual children. Right? People don't just say we're working to improve our future or our children are our future. They work hard to make the future a reality by investing in their children.
That's right.
Right? So we can't have all these institutions in the city and don't use them to invest in our students. That's fundamentally what must take place. And she talked about the Global Village School Zone, and I just want to start by saying there, and I want to point out as mayor what we can do specifically to address some of these problems, because I know some of you are waiting for that so you can write it down. And the reason that I'm saying Global Village School Zone is because, you know, I sat before in the editorial room of the Star Ledger and tried to talk to them about what the Global Village School Zone was. Now, I don't think that people were interested, right?
That's right.
And I don't think that the superintendent was interested in the Global Village School Zone. I don't think that the superintendent before her was interested in the Global Village School Zone. I don't think that most people are interested in any kind of homegrown reform that does not involve the kind of stuff that we're arguing about way up here. School closings, real estate, co-location, charters versus public. None of that is going to change what's happening in kids' lives in the classroom. None of it. None of it. We can argue about that for the next 10 years. It will not change the level of education in our community. There's no proof of it anywhere around the country, anywhere. There's no proof of it. So somebody will come before you and start telling you all of these things. There is no evidence that any of these things work. But there is evidence that some things work, some practices work around the country that are being duplicated that I think that we should use here. At Central High School, we embrace the idea that we actually have the power to transform our own school. That we can do this without all of the other stuff that's going on. In fact, we did it in the middle of a war in terms of school control, in terms of charter versus public, in terms of co-location, in terms of all that stuff was going on over our heads. Meanwhile, we have these 7 little principals in NYU in the heart of the Central Ward trying to create a space where we can begin to see improvement in schools. There's some basic things that we did. And at first, you know, principals met on their own after school without being told to do so.
That's right.
Without the threat of their jobs or somebody saying, you know, we're going to evaluate you in this type of way. Teachers stayed, they helped, they wrote curriculum, they did all kinds of things just because we asked them to. Sometimes they worked and knew they weren't going to get paid, though they were promised payment, but the district didn't pay them right away, and they worked anyway because they believed in a larger issue. So this idea that teachers don't want to work for our children is false. Right? Because I know teachers now that worked in the Global Village School Zone that had over 150 kids in their repertoire, their courses all day long. 5 or 6 periods that they taught. Over and over again, they stayed after school to make sure kids did well in school. And then, in the summertime, stayed and wrote curriculum for new courses that they didn't have to do. And they did it to help us improve what was happening in the school. So, we understood some basic things, that we live in a community. And that the kids that lived in that community eventually came to Central High School. And all of the kids that went to the elementary schools, or we call feeder schools in that community, were going to show up at Central High School with all of the deficits that they had that nobody addressed. We thought that if we put our heads together and we put our resources together, we could begin to challenge what kids knew and what they didn't know to get them ready for high school when they came in. So we went down into elementary school and began to work with elementary school teachers and elementary school principals and elementary school kids and align them with high school principal, high school teachers, high school curriculum. We did those things. Why? Because we shared the same children, which means we also shared the same families. Right? And we shared the same neighborhoods. So when something happened at Central, it invariably also happened at Newton Street School or Sussex Avenue School. If a kid was murdered in the neighborhood at night, it didn't just affect Central High School, it affected all the elementary schools that were also in the area of Central High School. That seems logical to me, but most people don't, use that kind of logic.